Alright. Ready. So hello everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. This is going to be another one of my book design videos. I completed this project in my second year of university and it is The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler. Just to be like super clear, this isn't a published cover. The Big Sleep obviously is a classic. It's a crime noir classic published by Penguin, but this is not the cover. This is just a student like competition that they did. So this was what I came up with. I'm still very proud of it, and today I'm going to take you through the process of me designing it and my sketchbook, and I really hope that you enjoy it and get something out of it. I don't know, if you have any questions at all, please leave them down below because I'm sure I missed something out, and I feel like design students need all the help that they can get. So let's go, let's get into it. Are you ready? Nah. So, let's start from the beginning. This was actually a pretty quick project. It was only 2 weeks, so you had to work pretty fast and get your research done and your ideas down pretty quickly. So here's a little selection of some of the previous covers that have been published before, and also just looking at the film adaptation. That's always good. If there's a film adaptation, that is super useful. It's like a bit of a shortcut. So I read through the book and I highlighted kind of sections and sentences and paragraphs that had a really kind of strong visual cue, or just kind of highlighted ideas that could easily be translated into a really nice cover. So just anything that kind of triggered an idea or a visual in my mind, I highlighted and took some notes. And then while doing this as well, I decided to just start doing a few little sketches. Definitely get your pen to paper as soon as possible. It's not gonna hurt you in any way. Definitely just start jotting down your ideas, sketching out your ideas. This is actually a trick that my tutor gave me, and she said, don't spend any more than, 1 or 2 minutes on each drawing. Just draw as much as you possibly can, and then you'll probably, at some point, come up with an idea. And I actually really like this idea that I sketched out of a woman, I've forgotten her name now, but she's kind of hiding behind a curtain in a hotel room, and the detective, Philip Marlowe, walks in and kind of discovers her. And I think they have a cigarette together or something, I don't know. So that's kind of an example of an idea that I liked, but never really got a chance to finalise, because I got to this idea, which was my main idea. So as the book is set in 1940s LA, I decided to just kind of research the setting. Always a good idea to research the setting if you can. And I thought, looking at some of these buildings, if you kind of squint your eyes a little bit, you could almost see like a letter, a big 3D letter, and perhaps I could, if I really worked hard enough, I could spell out the title of the book with buildings, and it would be a really cool cover to do. Oh, my phone is so loud. Here on the left was the very first sketch. This was a really basic, just throwing my idea out there while it was fresh in my mind, so it's not finalised at all. I can't really emphasise enough how lucky I was with this project, because this was my first kind of decent idea that I wanted to try and execute, and it actually worked, which doesn't normally happen. Normally you go through a million different ideas and try and execute as many as you can, and then, one of them eventually, hopefully, will work. This is simply for the sake of the illustration degree. You have to show that you're trying more than one idea. So I sketched out a few other ideas that I kind of like the idea of, and using smoke on the cover, using kind of mysterious smoky imagery and really bright colours maybe. Just show that you've tried a little something else, you weren't just stuck on one idea. And then we get to artist research. This is really basic artist research. I looked at artists like David Hockney because his etching is incredible, and then I also looked at artists like Adam Simpson, who's just very good at creating 3D environments, and then very importantly looked at Paul Noble, and he creates these really bizarre kind of flat environments, but they actually have 3D elements where you could read words, and it's just really bizarre. I really love them. They're very beautiful. So that was a huge inspiration for this project. Very important to try and find some artists that you can relate your work to. So then I decided to kind of launch myself into the idea by trying to create this 3D city where you would somehow be able to read The Big Sleep. So we have a few different sketches here, just a few different kind of versions, and then obviously I coloured it. So here we have some coloured versions, and then I just kind of clumsily tossed on a logo and the author's name and a few different typefaces, and that was pretty much my first version. And then I had to obviously think about the back. I feel like every opportunity that you have to carry the design from the front to the back you should use. So I decided to carry on this road into the back and try and make it feel like one big city. So this is one sketch version that I did. That is obviously inverted, the colours are inverted from the front cover, which doesn't work. Not really sure what I was thinking. At that point, I think my tutor actually told me you need to rethink your lighting and your shading because it's just a little bit messy and the lighting needs to be rethought because it's a bit blocky and it is not that legible. And that meant changing around some of the buildings and how they were drawn and that kind of thing. So before I started on the challenge that was the front, I kind of quickly coloured in the back. This here is all just me colouring in the back, pretty simple, and then I would scan it in and kind of create the rest of the back using Photoshop. And then just experimenting with different types basically, and maybe what could go on the spine. So this here is pretty much the finished drawn version of the cover. It's very, 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 very Photoshop now. And also, experiment with pens. All of your pens are different colours, they're different textures, they're different kind of depths of black and grey and blue. Always try different pens and put them all together and see what colour they are, because they are all completely different, I promise. But back to that, you know, choose your favourite pen and then draw your cover or whatever. So this was pretty much the finished illustration for the cover, which is looking not too bad. But obviously, if you step really far away, it is definitely not legible yet. So there are lots of notes around this from my feedback, from my critique on all the different things that I needed to do to hand it in for hand-in, which was how you get your final mark in, this was in my second year. And this book here is what I handed in for that. This is not the finished book, this is just the first version. So it's a little bit tattered now, it's pretty damaged. So at that point my tutor contacted me and said that she wanted to put my design forward for the Penguin Design Award and actually submit it. But before that we needed to make some new changes, some other changes, as it definitely wasn't Penguin ready. So obviously, for example, putting colour in is definitely the thing that it needed the most. The dashes of yellow make it so much more successful, makes it just so much more eye-catching and exciting. I think that's definitely something it needed the most. And also the tagline, a Philip Marlowe mystery, was just kind of slapped on the top, and she said really try and integrate that into the design in some way, so I added this kind of extra road at the top. But still the biggest change that it needed was to make it more legible, because it's still not the most readable cover. Even now the finished version is not very legible. It's actually one of the main reasons that I didn't win, because it's not legible enough. So, you know, that's totally my fault. So then we come on to this book, which is pretty much the final version, and the version that I gave in to Penguin, which I'm actually still pretty happy with. For a second year student who had nearly just failed the year before, that is not a bad try. It definitely looks more like a finished cover than it did previously. It's just feeling a lot more polished and finished off than it did before. So thanks to Big Sleep, I really feel like I owe a lot to you, and I kind of love you. Oh, that's sad. On that note, I think that that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching. I very much appreciate it. See you next time. Goodbye!